Tell me some hitchhiking stories, Rihanna.
Hitchhiking stories. So I started hitchhiking kind of full-time when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
I worked for a band that was from the United States, just on the other side of the border, but all their gigs were in Ontario. Right. And I lived in Ottawa at the time, so wherever their gig was, they would drive to it, and I would hitchhike from my home in Ottawa to whatever town it was in. So it was all over Ontario, which is a massive, massive province. This fellow picked me up and asked me if I'd like to have a drink. So sure, wasn't really sure what that meant. So he pulled over the car and he told me to get out and to come around to the back of the car. He pops open the trunk. Inside was an entire bar set up. He had all the bottles on the upside down thing where you could put your jigger underneath, some kind of CO2 thing with pop attached to it. Bucket full of ice. Another time I got picked up by 3 young men in a car and sitting in the back, and they'd asked if I would like to have a smoke. Sure. And I didn't realize, I looked in front and there was a great big green garbage bag packed with probably 10 pounds of marijuana that they had just harvested and dried from somewhere, and they were just digging their pipes in and passing it around. Okay. One time I got picked up by a guy and we're going along sort of the bottom of the road, and for me to get to Ottawa I had to pick one of the routes that went up, and it was getting late and there wasn't a lot of traffic on the road, and he passed this one, then he passed the next one, and then he was basically heading in that direction, and he's like, I just in my heart can't leave you out here in the middle of the night. So he drove me all the way to Ottawa. He went 300 miles in one direction out of his way, so 600 miles total to make sure that I got home safely. Another time I got picked up by a truck driver, and it was pouring rain, just a miserable day and night, and he didn't want to leave me on the side of the road either. It was sort of the same scenario where I would have had to cut back up to get to Ottawa, and he was going to, I believe it was Montreal, so he ended up driving me all the way to Montreal, put me up in a hotel room, drove me to the bus station next morning, and bought me a bus ticket to Ottawa.
Wow.
Yeah, out of his own pocket, which was totally amazing.
How old were you then?
Somewhere between 16 and 18.
Wow.
Yeah, so young, 17 maybe.
Yeah.
And the most humiliating one for me.
Oh, these are always the funniest stories.
Yes. I had left home when I was 16. My parents lived in a town called Trenton, and I was about 300 miles away living in Ottawa. And I was going to hairdressing school at the time, which they were sort of helping pay for. And I wanted to go back to Trenton and see my friends, but not necessarily my parents. So I had hitchhiked to Trenton, and I'm hanging out with my friends, and I walk around a corner, and there's my mother. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Like, you know, you're supposed to be miles away. Or busted. So they put me in a car, my mom and dad, and drove me all the way back to Ottawa, dropped me off, and they had, her sister lives in Ottawa, so she said, well, I'll go visit my sister for the afternoon. Well, they no sooner dropped me off at my apartment than I got right back out on the highway. I'm hitchhiking back to Trenton. I have things to do with my friends. Who drives by in this massive, giant city of 600,000-700,000 people at that time? My friggin' parents drove by and, oh my God, what are you doing on the side of the road?
Didn't we just drive you to Canada?
I know. That was so humiliating. I can't begin to tell you. It was just, completely busted.
Busted twice in one day?
In one day, yes, exactly. Yeah,
Oh
busted in town and then busted trying to leave town again. I was never really too scared of the hitchhiking, but of course you have to, have concerns. And in those days they had jeans that we used to call painter pants. And they had little loops and funny pockets and stuff. And there was like a little tiny skinny pocket in the side of the leg, and I used to keep a switchblade in there. And my thing was, I could just have my hands hanging straight beside me and not look like I was reaching for anything, but also have a knife in my hand instantly. And I never used it, and probably anybody could have kicked it out of my hand or taken it away from me. But knowing it was there gave me 100% confidence. I had zero fear that was like my good luck charm. I loved hitchhiking. I met the most amazing people. Everybody treated me with kindness. People went out of their way to help me. My boyfriend, I was dating one of the guys in the band, and one time we decided we wanted to hang out above and beyond the gig thing. Yeah. So he was going to borrow his parents' car, drive up from the States, and meet me in a town called Kingston, and I hitchhiked from Ottawa down to Kingston. So we decided to meet at this taxi stand. So I'm sitting outside and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And then the guy comes outside and he goes, "Is your name Rihanna?" how did you know that? And he goes, there's a phone call for you. Okay, so I go in, and his car had broken down on the other side of the US border and he couldn't get across. The taxi driver then offers to drive me all the way to the US border, which was, gosh, maybe like 40, 50 miles away, for free. Drove me to the US border.
Your boyfriend's car had broken down?
His car had broken down just on the other side at the border crossing.
Right, and he sent the message through the guy at the taxi stand.
Yeah, to say, like, I'm sorry I'm not there. My car's broken down. He's like, and then the taxi driver's like, well, I'll take you to him. We'll go get him and bring him back here.
Yeah.
I had no money. I'm hitchhiking. I'm 16, 17, right? So he did. He drove me all the way to the border. Then I get there, and my boyfriend offers me, he goes, oh, I made some banana bread. Would you like some? Okay, sure. It's kind of a funny color, but I ate it. Then he tells me after it's completely laced with marijuana. Okay, so the taxi driver drives us back to Kingston, and then so we were heading to Trenton, which is probably another 100 miles away down the road where my family lives. So we get up to the highway and we're hitchhiking, and by now the cake is kicked in, so I am quite out of it. And we get picked up by the ultimate Frenchman. He's driving a Citroen car, which is the ultimate French car. He's got the beret on his head. The back seat's full of paintings. His accent is thick as mud. And he's got this radio that it's just static, and he keeps turning the static up as if that's going to make the music sound better or something. And for some reason, just the look of him, the accent coming out of his mouth, this crazy crackly radio, I couldn't stop laughing. I laughed for the entire hour it took him to drive it. He must have thought we were insane. Had tons of good times, met tons of great people, highly recommend it. So yeah, that was life on the road for me.